It's my last day on earth, I wanna spend it with you. last day on earth, I wanna spend it with you.
I have a secret. And I'm almost ready to reveal it to you. But you're gonna have to wait till the end to find out. Just bear with me. Some people think I'm crazy, but I'm only a kind of explorer of modern times, connecting Portugal by sea, while coming across islands out of this world. I mean pure, wild, and ready to be discovered. Where I am welcomed by locals, just like family, you know? With a huge open smile and full of stories to tell, making me feel right at home. These islands challenge myself and inspire me to draw and reach new goals. Now this is where my secret will start to become yours. You won't believe the adventures I had in this place. A place where natural landscape just takes your breath away. A place where the strength to overcome...
Overcoming the hustle. The hurdles.
It will be on YouTube, you live, right?
Yeah. Follow the link on our bio, right, Maria? And yes. This is just a bridge, a link for us, for you guys to be... to follow us on YouTube, not on Instagram, okay? Tá?
Tá o quê? Tá. Não é possível, cara. YouTube? Não, isso é impossível.
Desculpa lá.
Não, é possível. Não há impossíveis.
Mas aqui é uma tela
não é possível.
Agora sim.
I know.
Então, se tá.
Is it live here? There? Não, mas garanto que está aí.
Agora tá gravando na câmera aí. Que
So, is it live? Can we start? Are you guys there? Afonso, do you confirm that the guys are there?
I'm waiting for...
Guys, say hello. So we can start. Yeah? So, welcome to Your Best Life Talks. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Lufinha.
Welcome.
I feel really humble and excited to have you guys here. Especially, you just came out of pumping waves in Super 2s. I know how hard it can be.
And missing some waves to be here, but it's part of the job, right?
Yeah, thank you. And I bet all the community will thank you as well, and for your inspiring, and you just drop your baby
Exactly.
somewhere, so thank you for that as well. Just before we start, as a reminder, the goal of these talks is to bring inspiring life examples as you and as the previous ones we had here, so that you can directly learn from these examples and take insights for your own life. Things like finding your passion, finding what you love to do, finding motivation when you most need it. You don't have to follow exactly these journeys because at least I don't want to drop monster waves or break the world record.
It can be a bit extreme, right?
Yeah, but that's not the point. The point is that you take valuable insights for your own life. And today we'll be guiding our talk around pushing yourself further and how important it is to challenge yourself and to leave your comfort zone to find and live your own best life. And for that, we have three vehicles. We have Nick, we have Lufinha, and the destination Azores, Portugal. Before we start, can you just like in 1 minute, for the few ones who don't know who you are, just give you a little introduction? Maybe you can start, Lufinha.
Okay, so address you guys. So my name is Francisco Lufinha. I am 36 years old. I'm married, have a baby kid. I'm an engineer, and I started to follow my big passion, which is the ocean, and together with sailing, and about 20 years ago then kite surfing came along, and I started to do extreme crossings connecting Portugal by sea, so the Azores, for those of you who don't know, Azores are part of Portugal, so we connected the Azores, Madeira Island, kite surfing. So at the moment I still hold the world record for the longest journey kite surfing, which was 2 days non-stop kite surfing during 874 kilometers. and I'm still pushing those boundaries. I don't know if we want to go any further in my career. It's good.
Yeah.
My name is Nick von Rupp. I'm born and raised in Portugal. I'm 29 years old. I'm a professional big wave surfer. I qualified for the Big Wave World Tour last year in the United States after a long, suffering winter. And at the moment, I'm preparing for the season. Nazaré is our sanctuary in Portugal, but also in the world. It's the biggest wave in the world, and I'm very blessed to grow up only an hour away from it. And yeah, it's a blessing to be so close to the biggest wave in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, and these guys are too humble to. So I have some facts. 'Cause I knew that you would say. Nicolau here is one of the most renowned surfers around the world. He's known for chasing big swells and heavy waves, and whenever there's big waves, you always see his name popping up for extreme conditions, and it's an honor to have him here. And Francisco, he has a really diverse journey on his life, and we'll go there in a minute. And it's very inspiring also the way he connected the dots from his life, and I think you guys will take some valuable insights. And then we have Azores Island. We will the archipelago, like Francisco was saying. It's a 9-island archipelago in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and we brought that destination as a way to transmit this message, because it's not an easy destination. Like it pushes yourself to adapt to all the conditions. You can experience the 4 seasons in one day, and yeah, we'll be talking about it a little bit. So about finding your way, we get a lot of questions like, how do I find my own way? When was the click that you knew what you wanted to do for the rest of your life? Our answer is that it doesn't have necessarily to be an aha moment like Carolina Pitera that was here, and she knew from the beginning what she wanted to do, because life throws at you a lot of hurdles. It's not always as you predict, and taking your motto, you have a motto that says just believe and
go ahead and believe in it, right?
Exactly. So, and 10 years ago, did you see yourself doing what you're doing today?
No, not a chance. I was dreaming about it, but from then to putting my hands on it, it was a bit tough. It was not a aha moment, like you said, but I had the worst 6 months of my life. And those worst 6 months of my life happened in Africa, in a place called Dakhla, which I really love. So if anybody from Dakhla, from Africa, is listening, the surroundings were the bad part. So
tell us a little bit of your journey.
So I had a master's degree I concluded a master's degree in Lisbon for engineering and industrial management, and I started to work as a consultant with a suit, and a tie, and both things that I don't like, but it had to be like that. And I worked in a bank also, so strategy, marketing, for around 2 years. Then I created a startup, which was for online booking of medical appointments. I was the minority, how do you say it like that? Partner. And I was the tech guy, because I also had 2 years of computer science degree. I like those kind of things. And but that was not going in the right way for me. So at some point, we had an argument, the 3 partners, and we had to lower my income, for example. So I went and I thought, okay, if I had a parallel life, teaching kite surf in a desert island, how much would I earn? So I started to apply all over the world to kite surf centers just to know how much was the payroll. So I got that info. But in one of them, I said, okay, I'm going to think about it, because I just wanted to know the payroll. But the owner of the big hotel in Dakhla called me saying, hey, I saw that you were applying to this center, so do you want to run this whole hotel? And I said, man, but I don't understand nothing, zero about running a hotel. You don't need it. It's just common sense. And you're a kite surfer and a wind surfer, come on. And I thought, this could be cool, so let's go. So that was my mistake number 1, which is, no, of course, I should go. That's the go ahead and believe in it. The first mistake is going alone. So I learned that no, I need at least one person I can trust. So I went there. It went really bad because I didn't adapt. It was a very bad environment. So I cried a lot. It was very frustrating. So after 6 months there, I came back to Lisbon, and my ego was completely down, down, down. So I think that gave me the push to. I thought like this: anything that I do right now will not get me lower than this. So I'm in the bottom. So that was really good motivation. Let's do it. And I had that project in the shelf, cover the Portuguese coastline, the mainland coastline, because there's always north wind in Portugal, in the summer at least, the thermal wind. And I already chat with some friends of mine, that could be cool, maybe it's possible, maybe not. And I went for it, and it worked out really good. The first one, of course, I had to put on my own savings and lots of effort as well, of course, more than the other ones, but it went out okay. And from that challenge on, it was just finding new people, chatting with them, getting new ideas. Then I saw how big Portugal was, the Portuguese Sea was, and then I decided to connect the dots, not the dots, but the islands and the entire territory. And then I did it. 4 years later, I had no clue that was going to happen, and now, of course, I'm thinking other stuff.
Yeah, I once read something about Steve Jobs. Whether you like it or not, I think the way that he found his own way, I think we can all take valuable insights. And he said that it's impossible to connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So his parents pushed him a lot to finish the college.
Like mine, of course.
And he was a dropout college. And he took a calligraphy course because he was really passionate about it. And 10 years later, he was the first guy to introduce in the beautiful fonts in the computer. And for instance, he was expelled from his own company, which gave him, just like you, motivation to come back again with more motivation. So
cooler one.
Looking back, he connected all the dots and everything that he learned. So how did you, for instance, use your own engineering skills and the experience that you had there in Africa to do, for instance, the odysseys that you created?
Yeah, of course, an odyssey is, you look at it at first, it's like, okay, the guy went kite surfing from here to there. Oh, that's minimum 1 year preparation. The last challenge took me 2 years. There's a whole project behind it, a company, of course. I founded my own company for all of this. There's a big team. We are around 15, 17 organizing this. In all areas, you know, all the logistics, we have to find out to create systems to be able to communicate. And so I apply every day my knowledge of engineering, my way of thinking. That's the most important part. And there's all the technology that you have to discover here and there, and you know how to speak with people. So if I want a satellite connection to speak, to do a live, I did a live from my phone to a Portuguese TV channel in the middle of the ocean. This is not easy. So this satellite, this normal phone, my regular phone, had to be connected through a Wi-Fi to the boat, which had a satellite connection to the satellite, right? Then to the network, then all of these timings, then the sound goes 3 seconds earlier, and
people only
tough.
see...
Yeah, people see a guy, yeah, the guy's all good. Yeah. So it's very tough behind all of these, but that's the part that it's fun. At the end you look back and you see, man, all these things that we've done together as a team, and they worked. Sometimes they don't, but when they work is even cooler.
And you, Nick, is just like some days ago you posted a picture saying this 10 years younger Nick getting barreled after college. Did you see yourself?
Well, for me, obviously, it was a dream. Everything that I've achieved over the years was driven by passion. And when I finished school, obviously, my parents always had a demand of me going to school and finishing school, and from there on, I could do whatever I wanted. And I did that. I finished school, and even though I had some really good results as a junior career, I was 5th in the world, 2nd in Europe. You know, I didn't really, I finished school and people looked at me, what do you want to do now? And I want to be a professional surfer. And people were like, what is professional surfing? Is it teaching people, to surf? No, I want to compete. I want to be the best in the world. And at that time, surfing in Portugal wasn't significant enough for people to have a perception what that meant, you know. So I had to fight. I had to really follow my dreams of, you know, traveling, being with the best in the world, and progressing my level, and you know. But everything was driven by passion. It did, you know, like it wasn't like, you know, it was a step by step kind of work, you know, looking long term, but until reaching out to that long term goal, there was little steps I needed to take to get there, and you know, that was first of all achieving the results as a junior career, establishing myself as one of the best surfers in the world, to be able to compete in the tour in the WQS for many years, and now the new challenge of surfing big waves. It's been a long road, you know, and there's been ups and downs as any professional career has, and you got to keep pushing, you know, like believing in yourself and what you do, and doing it for the right reasons. That's the most important, you know, to do it for yourself and not for others, because when you're in the top, everyone is pushing you to be a part of you. When you're on the bottom, everyone is pushing you down, and you know, if you're not, you got to do it because of, you know, the right reasons of you wanting to do it, and not because of the others and what other people think.
Yeah, Tamara asked, when you realized this was what you wanted to do, did you have any doubt? And I think this is applied to both, or you were always 100% sure?
There's always doubts in the road, and especially, you know, for me, a normal career in professional surfing is to do, you know, there was no such thing as a professional big wave surfer a couple of years ago. There was no professional content creator. There was a professional competitor where you are part of a ranking, and if you're 60th, you're 60th. If you're first, you're first. You understand? If you're 60th, you're shit. If you're first, you're the best. But it came to a point where the internet blew out, and I started creating my own content. And, you know, my passion was never surfing small waves where the competitions are. My passion was exploration, finding new waves, challenging myself to, you know, to push my level in heavy waves. And there was obviously, you know, always a doubt. Turning right when everyone turns left, there's always a doubt there. There's a big risk involved. And I obviously went through that risk also because I'm dependent of sponsorships. So, you know, there was a big doubt. Am I doing the right decision? I'm turning, like, I have a chance of qualifying for the tour. I'm winning competitions, and I turned my back to that and really followed my heart of, no, I want to do what makes me happy, and it's big waves. And if you're running for passion, you always end up winning. And that's what, you know, sponsors that weren't very happy about my decision, you know, they were like, oh, I'm not sure if that's the right thing. They're now like, yeah, I knew it. So it's like, you know, there's always doubt involved in taking risks. But if you take risks, that's what the highest reward is. You know, it's doing something different than society does. That brings you, you know, it's being different. And for me, it was a passion that was different. And
if you keep pushing yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And at the end of the day, it's the constant, you know, wanting to push yourself.
Yeah, like you said, then people tend to see, oh, it's a guy kitesurfing, or it's a guy, yeah, he has to be courage, but it's a guy, but it's a lot more behind all of that, right?
Behind it, yeah.
And just a little bit more on that journey, because I think I had a question here on how has failure set you up for later success. And Marisia asked, tell us the most important one. And I think I will highlight the WQS, for those who don't know, is the qualifying series to be able to compete among the top surfers in the world, so of smaller or medium or normal waves. So there was for those who don't know, there was not this distinction of careers. So either you are a professional, like you were saying, you have to compete among the others. So, and there was a lot of pressure, you know, in your career to get there, to achieve the qualification. And how do you do that along your way? How do you compare that with the career that you have now?
Surfing in competitions is very, how can you say it? It's not very fair, because at the end of the day, you're traveling somewhere around the world. You're going to Brazil, you're surfing really bad waves, you're out there for 20 minutes, and you travel for 16, 20 hours to have 20 minutes to compete against another person. And for example, you know, it's not like soccer or tennis, where there's an equal playing field. You're dealing with nature, and whoever catches the best waves ends up winning the heat or the competition. For example, Kelly Slater, he's 12 times world champion, and his winning percentage is at 23%, the greatest of all times, you understand? So surfing has that, competitive surfing has that. It's very unfair, it really depends on what waves, and it's a fight. It's a long fight, there's a lot of people, for example, Frederic Moraes, he fought that fight for many years, and he finally succeeded to the tour, you understand? Or a guy like Vasco Ribeiro that has the same type of talent, he's still fighting that fight of the WQS. So for me, I don't see it as failure. It was as personal, I had my results. I was part of the top 100 for 5 years. I did the best competitions around the world, the Triple Crown. I got my 9.97s at Haleiwa. I got 40th in the world. I got second in the ISA World Surfing Games. But it really came down to a point where I was like, okay, do I want to do what other people want me to do, or do I want to do what I want to do? And I came to a point I was like, I'm going to do what I want to do, and that's what progressed my career. I really believed in what I was doing. I put my head down. If it's big waves, I'm going to be the best at it. I want to bring something new to the sport, and every year kind of challenging myself and pushing myself further. And to answer your question, I don't see it as a failure, the WQS. It was I've learned so much during those years that I was competing that it brought that professionalism into a new sport, which is big wave surfing, and that obviously helped me. And and that's
the dots.
it's kind of it's really finding out who you are, and whatever you do, if it's cleaning the streets or surfing or kite surfing or being an engineer, if you're committed to be the best at whatever you do, you're going to be the best. You understand? It's really finding your passion and where you're good at, and putting your head down and going 100%. That's the most important. That's what I've learned from these years as a professional surfer. And
great. Yeah, and then that's links with the other question that I had, like the importance of defining your own success rather than letting others define your success. Like if it would be to others, maybe it would be a failure, as you say, or as I asked. But it's not a failure. It was part of the journey. So, and you don't see it as a failure. So, which is part of the journey and it's mandatory, right?
Yeah, at the end of the day, a failure for me was, for example, when I finished school, I had my dream of being a professional surfer, and all of a sudden I lost my sponsors. And as surfers, we're dependent of sponsors, and that was a big failure in my career. I put my head down. Everyone was dropping out of school when they're 16, and I really pulled through all the way to 18 to finish this degree because my parents really wanted to. And all of a sudden, I'm ready to be a professional surfer, and I lose all my sponsors. That was a failure. That was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do now? Like, do I really have to, my dream is over. And that was a failure moment for me, but hitting that rock bottom made me want things so much more than others. There was 2 years where I didn't have a sponsor, and then all of a sudden I got picked up by Nike. Nike put me in their international program with Julian Wilson's, Carissa Moore's, and that, it was like a stop to think, to reevaluate, what do I need to do to get there, you understand? And then all of a sudden, I was so dedicated, so determined to make things happen that everything just started, Doors open and close. My dad always told me, if you're determined to walk through that door, those doors will open. You just have to be,
Out there.
Expert.
Looking for them,
Florentina asked Lufinha, can you be really passionate about something and then fade out it after some time, some years, and then is that a good thing or bad? Like at some point you were passionate about the startup, right?
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise you
yeah,
wouldn't
of course,
start it.
everything you start.
And then maybe that passion fade away. So
I'm very rational. That's why I'm engineer as well. So 1 or 2, it's math. Your passion. First comes the passion, right? Then you start to write it. Then you start to plan. And sometimes you see, it doesn't work. Okay, it was really cool, but it's a passion. So maybe I'm describing an idea more than a passion, but okay. So I had that thing of, I'm going to do a big startup, wow. Okay, so that was the thinking that time. And okay, I went ahead. I played along with two partners, and then I saw it was not working. So there was something missing. The connection with doctors in Portugal, especially, was not the best one. So hospitals were blocking us from entering, and so I understood this doesn't work. So I had to cancel it. So that has to stop. And then next challenge comes along. It's like that.
So it's not a bad thing.
No, you just have to jump to the next one, and then try to make it.
Yeah, you have a thing about sailing against the wind. Can you explain
Yeah,
that?
exactly. So the thing about you just have to go for it. This is in English is always different. Go for it and believe in it, right? I always compare like a project to a race, a regatta, so a boat race. So like a car race, almost same thing. You have a start line, then you have some buoys, and you have to go around it to the end. And I compare the project, the first mark, people call it mark, is like your goal. So my goal is, for example, to do the Portuguese coastline kite surfing. And I stood 3 years here before starting, making up excuses because I was not sure I was going to get there. So you just say, no, this is not the year. So I do some, analogies. Oh, my boat is not right for this race. I go with the wind from the left and the wind is coming from the right. So I never start. And what I learned from this first challenge is, start, go for it. Even in the Dakla thing, I went for it. It went wrong. Okay, but I got the motivation needed for the second one. So once you start and you just go, don't think about reaching the destination for sure. Just go for it. The thing about going against the wind is it's always tough, right? When you go against nature. But the good thing is that you can tack, which means you go in this direction, it goes wrong, you meet some people here that don't allow you to go further. For example, I was forbidden to start from the port further up in Portugal, so I had to go to the second one. So I tacked and I understood, okay, I cannot do this, why? Tell me why. This and that. Okay, let's find this and that and convince another person. So you tack and you go another way. And on this way, you find lots of people. And some of them will block you, so you don't need those guys, and some of them will lead you to your mark, to your goal. Or the best part, the magic happens when you meet other people that take you to marks that you have never imagined. So I started with the coastline, and then, as I told you before, I did the whole territory. And I guess a lot more is coming my way, and I don't have a clue what's going to happen, but that's the thing, so you have to go.
Yeah, people are saying that, cool, you know what you love to do, but how do I find my own way?
Exactly, so just go, try the first thing. It's not going to be that one, but go and you'll find it.
Because if you don't go, you won't know.
You'll never know if that's a good or a bad thing. So you go and you say, no, I don't like this. Okay, one less in your range, right? And then you'll always have a new experience and meet new people. Those two combined, it's about the doors. Much more doors will open. And you get to a point you have to choose a door. And then that's good.
Especially if you're true to yourself, like you were saying. If you do what you love to do, then some doors in that direction.
I see a lot of, I was very lucky to, it's unfair to say, because I found my passion when I was 6 years old. It was the ocean. It's very unfair to say, just go out there and find your passion, and it's easy. I really realize that I'm a fortunate one, or that we are a fortunate one, that we were able to find our passion in a young age. But what I think is, it's as you said, it's getting yourself up and going out there and trying to find that passion. And expose yourself to different people, to different activities, to different countries, cultures, and you will find what you like and what you don't like. And you, exactly as you said, you just what you don't like,
scratch it.
Yeah, because it can tend to be kind of cliche, because everybody have all these inspirational quotes, and then people forget that it's actually a matter of starting or not starting. Like if you start, you just check. It's as simple as that.
Having an initiative.
Yeah,
a kick-off.
Because you never know. And do you believe in luck in that way, in that sense of doors and opening for you?
I believe in energy. Are we going that way? I believe in luck for sure. I believe that, obviously I believe in the strength of wanting to make something happen, but there's I believe in luck, yes. I believe that I've taken certain decisions that have brought, in many occasions in my life, I could have taken either right or left, and I took left, and that took me down a road that. So I don't know what that is, but it's maybe it's meant to be, maybe it's luck, But I certainly think there has sometimes decisions you take have this extra star that will lead to something even greater, and all through my career I've had these moments, and I don't know what happened, but it was the right decision. Maybe it's just a decision, maybe it's luck, maybe it's fate,
And sometimes
maybe the engineer can tell us.
Mr. Engineer.
we're at sea, right? So nature, how do you say, traces a bit of, if the wave comes, sometimes we are lucky. If I have wind or not, we have forecasts, but they fail as well. So you can get some luck in that part. But what I strongly believe is you need to be there to get the luck, right?
For sure.
It's not the luck's not gonna chase you, right? Hey, come on, it's gonna happen.
Exactly.
No, you have to be there, and you will. I got bad luck lots of times, and I also got lucky the other times. I tend to mix, but that goes in another way. I tend to mix luck with faith, so I have lots of faith. So when I believe the things I'm gonna do, and they're a bit crazy, right? When we go out of championships in the track, right? The train, the global train, where everybody goes, the society, as you were saying, and I invent my own challenges, right? To invent them, then convince sponsors and give a good return on them, and have fun and let people get interested in it. When you challenge nature like we do, yeah, you have to you have to plan it, and sometimes you need luck.
Yeah, but I think I agree on that. It's a mixture, like our friend Garrett McNamara says, luck is when opportunity meets preparation. And the comparison with nature and the wave is just perfect, because if the wave comes and you're not prepared, then
you're dead.
there's certainly a lot of times that all of us could have a good opportunity that everybody would call luck, but if you are not prepared, or if you're not following your passion and you don't grab it, then it's just luck going away.
The
So
good word is opportunity instead of luck.
Yeah,
And you have to take it.
For sure.
yeah, and because that journey is not easy and it's not always straightforward. Like, you don't wake up in the middle of the day and saying, yeah, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And because life throws at us a lot of hurdles along the way, you need a strong mindset to adapt, right? To adapt to those hurdles and take the opportunities that come to you. So what would you say was your mindset that led you to what you are here today, and eventually will keep you pushing?
What was my mindset? So it's very tough, huh? And frustrating sometimes. For example, I speak to kids in schools, which is a thing that makes me accomplished, and also to people in companies, and especially kids. They ask me, hey, I want to be like you, I want to do this and that, in other areas as well. And I always tell them, like, a heads up, okay, this is very cool, everything that I did is very cool, but this is very stressful as well, huh? Don't think this is like peanuts, I said. So following the normal path is much easier, and you get much less risk, much less stress, depending on what you do. Do I get? Como é que se diz? Onde é que eu quero
We'll
chegar?
say with this, yeah.
We don't want to
With
get
that
with it.
example, yeah.
It's gonna be harder. It's gonna be much tougher. But the mindset has to be, yeah, it's gonna work. So be open to every new stuff and go for it. It's a bit like that.
What do you think?
What was the question? What was the question?
About the mindset that brought you here, like.
Now that I'm not competing anymore, I'm helping a lot of my friends to go through these rough moments. And when I was in Australia, a coach told me, it's really important to learn from your mistakes, write it down, turn the page. don't let your mistakes or the negativity of the past affect your future. So you really need to, you know, be strong-minded in that sense. Don't let whatever the defeat of yesterday affect your future, and that's a really important thing in my life. Sometimes I feel so defeated, something didn't happen the way I wanted, but tomorrow's another day. So tomorrow we're back on the fight to try to achieve our goals, you know, and that's my mindset. I don't know how you can put it into a word, but that's the mindset.
And making it wrong sometimes gives you much more experience. So
it's a learning curve.
We shouldn't be afraid of doing it bad.
Yeah.
People will say some guys will point you some fingers, or your friends will give you a hug, something, and you will learn. So you make it better.
It's a learning curve.
Exactly.
Niba asked about the drawbacks and times of distress you had to overcome in your journey. Maybe Lufinia, you lost your board just 6 hours after departing. You had hallucinations. You got hit by the boat at night, almost dying. You started a new odyssey without wind. Tell us a little bit about that.
That's the part about the stress, you know. So, but actually, those are the cool obstacles. So the part that I wouldn't say I don't like, but the part that I like, that I enjoy less, is the preparation at shore, right? I like to be in the ocean, like you. But most of the time, when I'm preparing for an odyssey, I'm on a computer.
We'll
with
go
a
there
phone,
shortly.
whatever. Remind me the question again. I got lost because I was imagining all the episodes.
About the drawbacks, yeah? Just tell us a little bit.
A little bit
Maybe
about
Nick
what
doesn't
happened
know.
at sea. Okay. So, obstacle drawbacks in the ocean. From Lisbon to Madeira, the current world record. First night, 6 hours after departing from Lisbon Main Square, which you all should see is a cool square, and you will notice that it is not cool for kitesurfing on that square. But of course we had to start there because it was the place where we could get more media to give the return to our sponsors. So despite being forbidden, we went there like 2 months before the date to try and put a kite up. Of course, 2 kites wrapped, not good. But then on the day it went okay. We started, and in the first night, the moon, we always travel with full moon to get some light at night. But sometimes you don't control the clouds, so it was very cloudy, so you couldn't see a thing. And we were going fast. For those of you who understand a bit about nautical speed or airplanes, we were going 20 knots. I was here, the boat was here, we were separated about, I don't know, half a mile or something. And we were going really fast. And it was around 11 at night, and I crashed into a small wave. That happens a lot. But this one I was going very fast, so I didn't want to get hurt, so I jumped. We can easily jump with a kite with no ramp. So just put the kite back and you go up. But the board slipped out of my feet. The feet slipped from the board, and I crashed in the water. It was completely dark, and I just finished talking with the boat. So they're like, okay, let's take 5 minutes and we talk with him later. So they continued, and they didn't see me crashing. And that moment, for example, I thought to myself, I'm a lucky guy. So I tried to find the board in the dark, in the middle of the ocean with some waves and some wind, because with the kite you can go upwind just with your body. So I started to tack against the wind, and like this, I'm gonna find my board, I'm a lucky bastard, I'm gonna find my board. No, it didn't happen.
And
so sometimes you don't have luck.
But mentally, how did, like, it was just 6 hours after departure, so...
Yeah, I was completely lucid, so I was scared. I was really scared because I was seeing the boat going away, and believe me, there's no worse feeling than falling from a boat or doing what I do
during the night.
Yeah, and see your boat, the lights going away. Because boats have codes and lights, so white light behind, green and red in the front. So if I saw a green and the red, I was like happy. Okay, they saw me, but it was white all over, so only white. They were going away. So I tried to contact them. All the VHF, all of that didn't work because I was on the water as well, and some problems happened. So I had to use a very light. You know, it's like 1 minute with strong light. I was only thinking what's below me, looking up, thinking, oh, dinner came earlier, you know. So I was a bit afraid and being stuck in the middle of the ocean alone, because once you're in the water, you don't have many lights. But then I found the boat again. So
Yeah, just to give you a little context, he did the Guinness World Record connecting Lisbon to Madeira, just because some people might not are picturing the scenario. So he was like 47 and 48 hours straight during night and day kite surfing with no stops. Like
Crazy.
he would
Crazy.
go together with the boat to take some
that
food.
gives me food and water. We have a backpack with 1.5 liters, and we change it every 2 hours. And they give me food every hour to keep me awake as well. So the second day, for example, I have to put it short, right? Second night, both nights were terrible, and second one, I was starting to fall asleep.
Did you have music?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. And what do I listen?
Yeah, yeah.
It's called Enya.
Lord of the Rings. Like.
No, Lord of the Rings kind of thing. It's like epic, you know. You need
Like Braveheart kind of music.
yeah. Go in the middle of the ocean.
Sons of Scotland, I am Lufinia.
That's what keeps me going. Sorry.
Yeah.
And that and the phone. Sometimes I'll do the interviews and then the boat. And on the second night, so I was crossing in front of the boat and behind it, which is normal, but it's normal for them. But in one of them, I was falling asleep. So I fell asleep exactly in the front of the boat. It was a catamaran, so a boat with 2 holes in air in the middle, and they ran me over. And it was about 2 in the morning. And that was the scariest thing in my life so far. So I woke up, imagine yourself sleeping, kite surfing in the middle of the ocean. That's a cool part. Then imagine yourself falling on the water, waking up with the water, and you look and you hear a huge noise like "Roar!" and you look back and just hit the hull from below. Stop. And then they listened to me, so they stopped the engines, but of course the boat didn't stop. And I was caught by the engine in the back, but the propeller was already stopped. I was just there on the engine. The guys were all sleeping except for the skipper. I just remember seeing the face of Thiago, one of the guys, looking on the back to me next to the engine. He's like, we killed the guy. We killed our guy. But no, it was just a problem.
That would have been great for media.
Yeah. We did a remake. There's a documentary online. Search Lufinia kite surf, and you're gonna see the remake. It's fake remake, but it's cool.
Hey, Lufini's on the back.
Exactly.
Let's save him.
But so you have those kinds of drawbacks, of course, and you have to deal with them. It was good on the one way. I was falling asleep every 2 minutes that night, and I woke up from that moment on.
Adrenaline shots, yeah.
Yeah.
And you, biggest fears or drawbacks?
Biggest fears, every big wave session is biggest fears, like
That's an easy question.
are you gonna survive? Is this it? And then your parents put pressure on you, like when you say you go to Nazaré, it's like, oh, he's going to Nazaré, like someone's gonna die in Nazaré soon, and these things start, you're so focused on what you're doing, and you have these distractions of people coming in your mind, like, be careful, that you really start thinking. So, that's the scariest part, like you start really thinking that what you're doing is dangerous, you lose focus. And, but we train a lot for what we do, and we have a big safety team behind us looking out for us, for everything to go well. And obviously there's been a lot of moments where you're deep down being compressed by tons and tons of water being, thrown around all over the place, and you don't know where up or down is, and you're not sure if you're going to survive. I hate being in the water. It's kind of odd because my profession, when things go wrong, I'm underwater for a long time. But it's part of the job, right? To get what I really like about this this job I have, surfing big waves, is the constant setting goals and overcoming those goals, especially my fears, because I'm there's no superheroes here. We aren't made of something else. I'm scared like anyone else is, and I'm sure that Lufin is the same, right? If you have this goal to go to the
It's really cool.
to Madeira,
It's all the way to get there.
Yeah.
That's the thrill.
it's exactly.
Can I make it or not? Yeah,
Exactly.
you have better do. You
Exactly.
told us you are afraid of being under the water.
Yeah, I hate
right?
being in the water. That's for me, being
That's
underwater
tricky.
without air is one of the most horrible feelings. And when I train in the swimming pool, I'm like, I hate this, like. But it's the thrill of surfing big waves, the feeling it gives me of feeling in,
Adrenaline.
facing nature the way we do, like. It's it's being like on the high, it's being like being in the Himalayas, on the toppest of the mountains, the epicenter of big wave surfing, and surviving that, it just gives you a feeling of being invincible. And you get addicted to it. I don't know, it's strange. Yeah.
That's cool. And when you get to the end, for example, on my challenges, you see the finish line, you're all happy, then you arrive, then the next day, like, what am I gonna do next? That's the tricky part. It's addicting. Yeah?
Exactly, it's very addicting. You have, for example, for me, a big step in my career last year. I wanted to transit whatever I did in slab surfing, which is a very technical surfing. Last year I wanted to bring that into big wave surfing, and basically ride huge boards in really technical sections. And one of my goals was to surf Mavericks left, which was a wave that had never been surfed. Had never been surfed before. And I put my head down. That was my goal for the season. I want to go left at Mavericks. Everyone goes right. Mavericks has been surfed for the last 40 years, and no one has ever gone left because it's very dangerous. It's very technical, and yeah, it's hard. And so last year we went over there, and I stayed at the house of someone that had been filming Mavericks for many years, Powerline Productions. I stayed at the house. We were analyzing the footage and how are we going to do this? What lines do we have to set? I was there for a week, and I had fails, constant fails. And on the last day of the trip, I finally got a left at Mavericks, and which was the highest moment of my life, of my professional career. And people were calling it as a historic session. The global media, surf media, were really, pumping it up as as one of the greatest rides ever done there. And I don't remember what the question was, but
Just a comment, I guess.
it's just it's just like you work towards a goal, and when you finally reach that goal, and you're very happy, but then what's the next step? And that's what you were saying. You conquer what you have always dreamed about, and then the next day feels like nothing.
Yeah, but it's good. But then it's the thing about the doors, right? On the way to conquering that one, you met new guys
Exactly.
that are gonna reach you and say, "Hey, it would be cool to do this, right?"
Yeah.
Exactly.
We have a challenge here.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We were talking about that.
Mixing some kite with surfing.
Yeah.
Let's see how that ends up.
You can pull him into a big wave, basically.
Exactly.
But
That's a good
you were
one.
saying, Gabrielle here asked, how do you create an environment that protects you from the negativity and helps you pursue your goals? Like, how do you deal with no's, or it's impossible, or you never make it? Like, do you have any magic trick for that?
It's all about a team, Like a lot of people, when you're on the top, a lot of people come in your life and want to be a part of your success. But it's creating a team that you trust, that have been there all through, and believing in their insights, working with great physical, mental coaches, and they're there for you. People that are there for you, not only in the good moments but also in the bad. And there's a lot of you know exactly who you can count on, and those people want the best for you and inspire you to take the next step.
What do you think about surrounding yourself with positive, like-minded people?
That's really important. That makes a huge difference, especially in the preparation part, which is the toughest one. Everything looks impossible. I really get frustrated, really a lot, on the sponsoring thing that you were saying. So you have a budget that you need to find, and sometimes you have 30%, and you have to tell them, because companies have to close their budgets, and you have to tell them yes or no, and you don't have the other 70. and you commit, and then you don't have the 70. So you have to do it, and you don't have the way to do it. So that's really tricky. And that's where those persons come in. If you have a negative person around you, whoa, you're gonna quit. But if you find positive persons, they will make you go further. At least they put your spirit positive, right? So they help you a lot. That's very important.
Yeah, and you had João Macedo, who was really important in the early stage of your career.
Yeah, well, João Macedo, what can you say about that crazy guy? It's like, you know, he taught me surfing. He taught me everything about surfing. I was a bodyboarder. He went over to my parents' house, sat down, told him like, hey, Nick needs to be a surfer, this and that. And he took us, at that time, the way surfing was taught was very in a competitive way. Like surfing small waves, preparing for the next competition. João took us onto a spiritual, adventurous journey, so saying. You understand? He wanted us to progress and in good waves. He was bringing us to Ericeira to challenge ourselves constantly. We were 10 years old. He wanted us to jump, to come down cliffs and jump from rocks, and we like, this guy is crazy, you know, I'm 10 years old. And all through these years, as having João as my coach, we always thought, this guy's absolutely mad, like, what is he doing? And João, for those who don't know, João Macedo is one of the greatest surfers of Nazaré these days. He's 42 years old, maybe more even. And he's one of the guys pushing the limits at surfing Nazaré. And when I'm talking about Nazaré, you're really talking about, man, the edge of what is doable as a human in waves, you understand? And this guy's 42 years old and he's pushing. He's like, hey, Nick, let's go. And I'm 29, you know, and he's 42. He's got so much good energy, and everyone realizes he's crazy. He's like, he has the skills, but he also has that mental capacity of looking further what's doable and not. And us growing up, we knew that. You understand? That our little group of 5 people, we knew that. And now the world knows, and we knew it already 20 years ago, you know?
Take that.
But it's amazing. João is an amazing human. He pushes everyone at Nazaré, and he's the man, the godfather.
Yeah, you surfed, apparently, what people say an impossible ride. You just invented a link. Impossible ride as well. Like, who sets the limits when there's no, like, there's Mount Everest, and then what? Like, how do you set your limits? Because doing what and nobody did it before. How do you set your limit? Like, where do you get your inspiration?
I don't know, but that's one of the things I love the most. So when you're inventing the next challenge, right? I don't know, just try new things and see what's being done all over the world, the latest things. For example, now I connected Portugal. The last challenge, I couldn't make it on my own alone, so I invited a German kitesurfer and we made in a relay. Portugal is now connected, so next step. There's still a world, right? So maybe an Atlantic crossing, maybe doing what the Portuguese did lots of years ago, right? So can I do that on the board? Nah, I don't think so. So I have to think, right? Rational. So why not mixing kitesurfing with sailing and do a spaceship, a kite surfing ocean ship, for example. So you have to, I don't know, dream, see weird things, and be creative. That's one of the things I like the most. It's when you're it's almost like you're a kid and people ask you what you are going to be when you're a grown up, right? So what's your next challenge going to be? I think every person that says hello to me that I know, right? Or some kind of strangers say, hey, you're the guy from the record, right? Yeah. Everybody asks, what's the next challenge? So
I don't have that question for you, it's okay.
No,
I'll let you.
And some of them give me ideas, so it's cool. That's my way of seeing it.
Do you have any unusual habit that you do?
Unusual habits?
Surfing huge waves.
Yeah, I guess so, right? But that's not unusual for me, you know? That's what I mean for, obviously, what's unusual for me it's not for someone else. Obviously, but I don't know. Good
I mean,
question.
like as a preparation or something. Like he listens to weird music.
Weird music.
It's cool music.
No, I don't know. Nothing that I can think of right
You
now.
don't have a ritual before going to the water? I don't know.
Man, for many years when I was going through this big wave adventure, for me it was like just pretending it's a normal day and just it's gonna be 30 foot.
That's unusual.
But it's like you're gonna wake up and try to not put any pressure. And I remember I had an English guy at the time at my house, and he was up at 4 o'clock in the morning asking me if I had slept, and I was like, yeah, dude, yeah, it's just a normal day, But obviously, the pressure is there, and the build up. For me, like when there's a huge swell, there's so much talk. There's news talking about the swell of the century in the Atlantic. And especially these days with social media, the hype is big. And they were talking about Storm Lorenzo being one of the biggest, whatever. And that hype really gets into your head, like holy shit, like it's not a normal day, But the days before a swell, like the week before a swell, is the one that gets into my head. But then I try the day of the swell where I need to perform, I really try to pretend as nothing.
But do you have any trick, like you do meditation? Someone
No,
asks
I just warm up like it's a normal day. I eat my usual breakfast, and yeah, I really don't even check the surf. I just get on my jet ski and yeah, I try to make it as normal as possible.
That's unusual. That's the answer. It's just a normal day. Let me go there and catch just the most of the wave. You were talking about entrepreneurship, so I have this quote that I love. It says that it's what you do in the dark that puts you in the light. And some people say that they tend to say like, "Oh, it's a great idea," but it's just the guy crossing the Atlantic Ocean. He's cool. He's kite surfing. But for me, execution is everything. There's no overnight success, this preparation that we were talking about. And I remember when I first met you, that I was kind of, I knew this beforehand, but I still was kind of surprised for the amount of work that you put into office work versus, for instance,
Water work?
physical work to preparation. Like,
the man is an engineer, man.
yeah, but still, everybody said like, no, he must be at home doing push-ups and stuff like that. But just like, I don't know, 1 month before you can tell us about that. What's behind the world record?
Yeah, it's a lot of computer work, man. I never worked that hard. So when you have your own company as well, you work much more than if you're working for somebody else. So I was mixing the work in the computer with the training. You know that exercise which is a chair. So you sit on the computer with no chair. That was what I was doing to train. But yeah, you have lots of licenses to get the gear, to find the right gear, because nobody does what I do. Now it's not nobody, but 5 guys worldwide. So there's no gear for us. No company wants to do gear for us because nobody's going to buy it, only 5 guys. So you try to contact companies and say, hey, could you change this connection? For example, one thing we never found, if I fall on the water at sea unconscious, I'm dead. They don't find me. I never got a solution for this problem. Why? Because there are lots of systems and people are thinking, yeah man, buy one of those man overboard things. Yeah, but those man overboard things are always on. For example, you use them, and all the ships that go around have to go there and rescue you. I want a signal that says, I'm Lufinia, I'm kite surfing. I'm not a boat and I'm not dying. I'm Lufinia kite surfing. And when I get unconscious, the Lufinia stays there last position, for example. That doesn't exist. And so it's very tough to find all of those equipment and all the licensing, insurance, for example. Nobody insures me. Do you get insurance?
Yeah, I got a WSL insurance.
Okay,
yeah.
because you have an organization behind you. I don't. So that's tricky.
It wouldn't be a profitable business.
Exactly. Nobody wants it, right? I was actually once sponsored by an insurance company, but they didn't insure me.
Really? It was just for the others. That's
It's
funny.
just for the return. And what else? Yeah, and you have to mix it with the training, of course, and all the meetings and all getting the sponsors. Sponsorship is very tough. I don't know if when you're competing is easier or not, because then there are lots of you, right? I'm not so sure, but in my case, that you have to tell a whole new story and nobody has done it, and the probability of not happening at all is big, and then it's very tough, so it consumes me a lot. So the question was about the work, right? That's a lot of work on the computer, but then I would say the best moment is when you start, you pass the media part, which is also cool, of course, important. But then, for example, I did the Lisbon River, and at the end of the river, we got like around 20 kite surfers. I didn't know they were gonna be there. Just saying, yeah, cool, man, go. Some making fun, like I'm very tired. They were saying. And then after that point, I put my music on, and that first song is like you just see the ocean in front of you and say, "Yeah, man."
What do you feel when you put that music back on now? You know, like when you're in your car, put on your mode. You have tears?
No tears, but
it's an emotion.
How do you say?
I have the tiger.
It's like this Ganesh. I have the will.
The will.
Yeah.
I get the will to do another one, you know, and I listen to that all the time, and my wife is like saying, "Hey, again," and yeah, not again, but it's good to remember, and then you have the strength for another one.
And what's behind dropping a monster wave, or like for instance, the documentary series, the My Road series, like, and I had another question, like, do your closest friends or your friends overall that are the closest people around you, do they realize the amount of work that you put behind all those projects?
I mean, I work hard in a lot of senses. I'm eager to do stuff. You know, I like doing stuff, whatever, if I make money or don't make money. I want to make shit happen. And there's no one that's going to do it for me. Obviously, I have a team I work with, but I have the ideas and they help me to execute it. You are obviously only as good as the people you work with, filmers, managers, all those guys, physical preparation, mental preparation, all those guys give you a structure for you to excel. So obviously there's a lot of work involved. You know, the more good people you have, the less work you have, and the more I can focus on doing my part of the job, which is surfing and being as prepared as I can. Yeah, it's you know, especially not competing. It's a lot of mental. You know, if you're not competing, you have to you have to work on media, you know, and working on media isn't easy. You have to constantly reinvent yourself. People expect you to be better every day. People expect you to surf bigger waves every day, and it comes to a limit where it's like, okay, if I'm gonna surf bigger waves, I'm gonna die. Exactly. But it's it's a challenge, and I like challenges, and I like working. I like being entertained. If it's surfing, if it's sitting on a computer, talking to, for example, Pat O'Connell from WSL, or dealing with my sponsors, Hurley in the United States, or, you know, I just like, I didn't have the opportunity to go to school, and for me, this is my school, this is my learning process, is being out there and dealing with my sponsors, dealing with my project, dealing with IMG, the distribution company, just keeps me entertained, you know. I got the bug from my parents. My parents have a company for 30 years, and they always, so, what's next? So, what are you going to do? You're going to go to university? Oh, you got what? Hey, it's time. You know, my dad, I was on the high point of my sponsorship career before this year. And my dad was like, so, what are you going to do next? You know, and what do you mean I'm going to do next? I'm like, I'm good. I'm sponsored. I'm doing better than, you know, most of the surfers. I just qualified for the Big Wave World Tour. Like, I got this project, that project. And he's like, what are you going to do next? So I got that from my parents. And it's also like the family structure you have around you that make you who you are. And I'm really grateful to, you know, my parents worked their ass off. You know, my parents came to Portugal with nothing, and they built up their company, and they built something. You understand? And that's I fed from that energy, and yeah, I was very grateful in that sense.
Yeah, we produced a video at some point about inspired by a TED talk about a guy that said that the way we organize our lives, we're always postponing, and that's the danger to postpone happiness, because even you guys, whenever you achieve something, you always immediately think about what's next. And the message of that video is like, is obviously you won't stop there, but it's to be grateful in those moments and to celebrate kind of the milestones.
Can I just interrupt here?
Yeah,
This
sure.
is really important because I've always been like Lufinha, you know, you achieve your goal and then next day you're already thinking like, oh, I need to do more, better. And Kobe Alberton is like a very, very well renowned big wave surfer and an idol when I was growing up. And we had a session in Indonesia. Everyone was like, a kid got a crazy wave. It wasn't even me. It was like a kid got an amazing wave. And he was like, oh. And the guy, like Kobe Alberton, he's like 42 now, something like that. He grabbed the kid, you know, we were all celebrating. And he grabbed the kid and told him like, mate, you know, like, you got to celebrate these moments, you know, like you soak it in, let it soak in, feel this moment, you know, be happy about what happened, you know, like, don't think about what you could have done better. This is great.
Yeah.
Like, this is amazing. Be happy, enjoy, celebrate, you understand? And it's really important. It's what you were saying, you know, it's important to soak in, you know, your achievements and you know,
Before thinking on the next one.
Exactly.
Yeah, because
Or
it's
what you could do better.
it's human nature. We're always very ambitious. I remember when I first started a company about filming. It was my goal is to just be the best and a reference of filmmaking. And then you girls came in and new dots were connecting. And then I remember one day that I said, no, it's not just about filming. It's about filming travel stories around the world. And I remember when we went to Azores, we went to the 9 islands doing adventures for 1 month. And the day before I had like a lot of projects to organize. Felipe was here saying, oh, what do we say to L'Oreal, to Unilever? And I was, fuck Azores, I need to do this. But then...
Then Lufinha called you and said, man, you're late.
yeah, then you were behind my shoulder saying, and I stopped and realized, no, that I'm going for 1 month getting paid to do what I love and being recognized. So I should stop for a moment, take all this stress behind, because it was an achievement. Right now I had much more ambitious goals, but it was an achievement that I set myself up to like 2 years before. So it was important. I even sent a message to my father, my family, that to help us, like, kind of emotional moment there, but it's really important because our tendency is to always just, what's next? This is
never
not that
being
good
fulfilled.
anymore. Like I already surfed Nazaré, it's not that good anymore. What's next? But maybe 2 years ago it was like the biggest thing you could ever done. No,
For sure. And it's so true if someone's watching from outside and obviously you have that goal of reaching something, whatever it is, if it's in sports or in business or, you know, as a startup, it's if you're working your way up and you think you're going to achieve it and you're going to be happy with that, like, you know, it's relatable to everyone, you know, like if you get up there, you always want more and really enjoy soaking it in is important, you know, being...
what would be an advice that you would give like the college students that just came out of college now and are facing the real world?
I would make a comment related to a question of some of the viewers. One of the viewers at least was asking about my kid. So I have a 1-year-old baby. So that's completely related. So once you said just out of college or before college? I don't know. Out.
Just
of
finished graduation
so
or
thinking
whatever.
that you don't have any kid at that time, which you may have, of course, do everything that you can possibly think of and you can manage to do, of course, on that time. Experience the most out of everything, but I really mean everything different, so that during 3 years, for example, you find your way. Because what I find myself sometimes on that point, and some friends of mine, is just you don't know what you want, right? Or you always want more. So the more you experience, the more you you draw your line,
Yeah.
the line that you know. So and that's the perfect time because you have no responsibilities. You don't need to have a house to pay. You're not married, I think, or you don't have a kid. So that's the best part of your life to explore.
Yeah, and I think it overlaps with a lot of things that we said, and guys, you should really take this message. Like a lot of people say, oh, you said it's a blessing that you found what you want to do, and it is. And like Carolina that was here on the previous talk, she also always wanted to be a painter, but most of us don't. So, and we have a really good opportunity from the moment that we are a little bit more older and then with less responsibilities, like the moment that we are in college, that we can try everything. And
in my case, for example, I'm a passion for the ocean since I was born. My parents took me to a sailing boat because my father is a sailor, 2 weeks old. But I never had that passion. I'm gonna be an extreme kite surf crosser. That doesn't exist. So what I know is I love the ocean, and I tested a lot on the startups, and I now have my company that organizes it's a very small company, it's me and the people I hire for each project, but different things related to the ocean. So it's not a huge passion, I know my call, nothing of that. So I'm still exploring. I don't know what I'm going to do in the next
he's a
20
speaker,
years.
he organizes events,
Exactly.
he does world records, and
I do what makes me feel accomplished at the end of the day.
I feel like, going back to your question, I feel like in Portugal, I look at my friends and the way they manage their childhood, finishing school, going into college, finishing college, getting their first jobs.
Yeah.
There was never a room
Exactly.
where they went out there and explored. And I've been traveling since I'm 10, 11. I went to Australia for 6 months when I was 13 years old, and feeding from those different cultures. Those people are all about travel and adventure. They save money, they work to go travel. Here in Portugal, it doesn't relate to the audience we're seeing. Maybe you guys relate more to what I'm saying, but people elsewhere in Portugal, they grab any opportunity to go travel. Here in Portugal, we're stuck into society's train of finishing school, finishing college, going to work, having kids, having family. They never have that time to go travel for a year and explore and get out there, you understand?
You're doing my part, so it's perfect. No, it's a connection of learning. I'll go back to, because I have another question on that, but I'll take that as a connection for learning from the world and how important is that. You talk about when you lost your sponsors and then Nike, you were around the world, picked you to go with the international team, and how important is that to learn from the world, to absorb the learnings that.
That's the greatest thing I've learned from being a professional surfer and traveling the world and meeting all these people. I have friends all over the world, and it's just feeding from different cultures, you understand, feeding from society's norms around the world. That's the most important, and obviously learning languages, and it's a learning curve, it's just understanding it. It just opens your horizons, I feel like you're stuck in a box if you only stay in your comfort zone. Exactly.
That's exactly, we say that we use travel as a tool and the globe as a teacher. And
it's finding your passion as well. It's in exploring where you find your passions.
And that's
passion is really important.
Why we created this program, because I'm sure that if we take one of those guys that live in the box here in Portugal or elsewhere in these programs, that they will come completely different.
Change.
Because the world has that power to open your mind and to break down all the prejudice. So
I think
real talk there.
Congratulations on that one.
No, it's true. It's
How did the world open your mind or inspired you to push yourself further?
How did the world play a role in that one?
If
the world or the ocean. I'd say the ocean did more for it in that way than the world. I'm more of a nature guy than a city or lots of people guy. So being out there in the ocean, seeing the world. Now I get it there. When I see guys, for example, sailing across the world doing extreme things, those guys really inspire me. For example, in France, there are lots of sailors, very good sailors, the best ones around the world in offshore races, and those guys, how do you say, inspire me a lot to do different stuff, and in kite surfing, which are new stuff. So that's how the thing plays. So Nick is.
Yeah, so yeah, that's you do my work. So we'll go and we use that link again for entrepreneurship because you both guys are brands, so to speak. So you both have to market yourselves. Like Nick from Group is a brand. I don't know if you say it like that, but
Brusco is a brand.
but you have to build
No, for sure. No,
something around you, and so do you.
Is a brand. That definitely is a brand.
And to market yourself, let's say it that way then. What do you think is the most important aspect for a brand? Like, what makes you different from other athletes? That's pretty weak.
You know what? I don't go towards that. I don't look at a market demand and supply. Is that I go the other way around. I'm driven by passion. I do what I like. I believe in performance, and that relates to that's the market demand. It's not wanting to put my face out there. It's wanting, it's a performance that leads to putting a face out there, and obviously we have sponsors. We it's for sponsors to be happy, we need to do our job, talking to the cameras and but for me, I want to focus on performance. I want to put the performance out there, not the face, and one leads to the other.
In my case, when I said Lufinia is definitely a brand, is not the face, because it's the company which is called Lufinia, so it needs a brand, registered brand, exactly named Lufinia. And since the passion is the ocean, and I do lots of stuff, so I need a brand, and I need to. There was a question about my kid, right? What does he, how does he change my way of doing things? Of course, you need to feed the guy, right? You need to give him a house, and you need to be alive. So you need to think in a company to maintain a company in a sustainable way, right? With my values and with my passion, of course. So I had to build that brand, which in the sea community is very well known, which is good. So when I do my passion of extreme kite surfing crossings, I'm already putting that brand up, and then I have my business with a catamaran, with a sailing boat that I charter, and all to go to companies, for example, to tell my story. After all, this is storytelling. Tell my story. I need to get a new story from time to time, and so I need to work on that brand, of course.
What's your company?
Lufinia.
Lufinia, but what is it? What do you do?
It's lots.
It's your expeditions, or do you?
That's one of the business areas.
Okay, but do you also propose your model to other kind of other areas, like your event expertise towards something?
For example, I organize some sports events, everything nautical, so it's all related to the ocean, of course. That's my passion, and I organize an event called Water Kings, and that is this T-shirt actually, in the south of Portugal, and that's for. I get some invites from other countries to do that outside, but still going that way. So I have to do all of those different things, and with the boat as well.
But what is Water Kings?
It's a 12-hour competition non-stop. It had to be lots of hours. From noon to midnight, where in a team you can go windsurfing, kite surfing, stand-up paddling, and sailing.
That's a challenge for you.
Not surfing.
Man, let's break the hours of surfing.
Yeah.
I think I've done 12, but maybe we can do more. 48. 48. Let's go 48 hours. Let's
48 hours with some coffee. Let's go.
Yeah, but
drink some Monster.
Yeah.
Not some coffee.
I didn't mean brand as self-centered, but more like you said you're a storyteller, and so do you with a documentary series and all that. So maybe you can answer the question in that sense. Like, what are your main concerns when telling a story? You said that people are so anxious to post things right away that they forget quality nowadays. Like, what are your concerns when you create like the latest documentary that you did?
Well, Yeah, I've been doing a series called My Road series for maybe 6 years now, and it's just an excuse to have people document my performances. I have to come up with a concept, with a story, and yeah, basically I've been very fortunate to work with some of the best filmers in Portugal, like Gustavo Imigrante, very talented, artistic guy that does some amazing stuff. He's transcended the surfing world. These days he's working in publicity, working on the documentary of Carminho de Fadista.
Really?
And I was used to, all through this venture of 6 years, I'm used to quality, you understand? Like, people are into these YouTube series these days where they hold a GoPro in their face. For me, it's trash. It's obviously there's millions of people watching, but millions of people watch a cat getting
The microwave. Or something.
yeah, exactly, cat in the microwave.
You are one of them.
No, I'm just remembering that story.
Did you notice that you answered right away?
Exactly. Lord of the Rings music and cats in the microwave. Okay. But I don't know. I just like quality. I appreciate good movies. I appreciate good art, and combining both. I love documenting. My road. It's like there's a lot more than only going up and down on the wave. The whole story of getting to the waves, exploring, and it's things that people. There's a demand in the market. People love it, and yeah, my sponsor's been backing it. Thank you, Monster. Thank you, Hurley. It's been a long road, and yeah, it's meant to many more years to come.
Yeah, we are running out of time. I have just before we skip this, Azores. Maybe we start with you.
Yeah.
Because Azores is one of the vehicles that we choose, one of the destinations that we choose to transmit this message. Because, as I said in the beginning, it's not easy vacation. It demands a lot out of you. Can you tell us a bit about your experience there?
Our experience. So we went there together, and it was really cool to plan this, right?
A lot of planning.
Let's go. We'll land there and we'll see what happens. Now, of course, I minimized that effect a little bit with calling some friends in some islands. Some of them we had nobody there, and it actually ended up the perfect. And it was not vacation, but it was a journey, right?
But what's so special about Azores that you could tell?
What is so special? It's completely out. You have no range on the phone, which at first is always good. And then you have lots of water, all the waterfalls. You get up to the peak, right? And then you're down and diving with the mantas right next to them. And that was amazing. And we kite surfed there, which is the worst sport you can do in the Azores. It's kite surfing.
Really?
Yeah, because it's all mountains, the wind is like this.
Really?
It's very
okay.
tough.
And you actually put the kite surf up?
Yeah, we had a kite on the top of Mount Pico. that was a bit dangerous.
Our stuff. Don't do that at home.
But it's really, it's unspoiled. So the mass tourism is not there. So it's really one of the places that I really love. And you can go, all 9 islands are different, especially the ones on the west, the 2 ones on the west, Flores and Corvo. You're completely you're not in Europe. You don't think this is...
So you guys went to the Azores together? Yeah.
Yeah, to make a series, outdoor series, stories.
Yeah. And now we're doing a
On
program.
every island? All the islands? Yeah.
All the 9 islands in 1 month.
And now we're
Tricky.
giving that opportunity to... We created a program on the same 9 islands.
Oh.
And we're taking 3 people together on the one of the programs.
To experience that, and it's
Amazing.
Really cool.
And do you like Azores?
I mean, Azores is one of the most wonderful places. It's so diverse. The vegetation is so diverse to what we have here in Portugal, and it's an extreme adventure. One of the most beautiful places I've ever been to is São Jorge. I'm not going to say where, but it's amazing.
It's also there.
It's one of the most amazing places I've ever been to. Wonderful. Something that really stuck in my mind. The there was this mint smell all over the island. Mint smell. You know what, sometimes you only smell mint when you put it close to your nose, but you're walking on the road and you can smell mint, like there's no place like that in the world, it's just so beautiful. Waves are amazing. It's really great for surfing, and it's an awesome place.
I should say the mint smell is on one side, the other one is cheese.
It's amazing as well.
It's the island cheese, you must try it out.
Yeah, and
cow
three-
poop.
Sorry?
And cow poop.
Yeah, that's nature.
That's very inspiring. That's the adventure part. So just to finish this, we have the latest, the last theme, but the most important, I guess, because at Your Best Life, the way to say find and live your best life, there's this Japanese model, I don't know if you're aware, called Ikigai, that basically says that when you mix what you love to do, what you're good at, what you can get paid, and what the world needs, it's your Ikigai, it's your reason for being. So, and you have to find your own way to the center of that, crossing all those pillars. And we, inspired by that, all our actions are around that. So you have belonging and fun, so it's all deep human connections and all that fun part. You have the life career, which is feeling accomplished of what you do and creating your own success, not what others say. And then you have the social impact, giving back to the world. And I think we as ocean and you guys as ocean lovers, that's an important part. And you go around Portugal with Lufinha school tours, teaching the kids about the importance of the ocean, and for them to love and then to protect the ocean. Can you tell us just a little bit of what you say to those kids?
Very quickly, so then I go to schools, and first, to get their attention, I have to talk about kitesurfing, of course, and my extreme challenges, but in a subtle way, and then in a more deeper way, I explain why the ocean is so important to them, even if we are in the interior of Portugal and not in the ocean, not in the shoreline. So because of the oxygen, the temperature of the planet, all the food in the water. So, and shock them just a little bit about the plastic problem, the plastic that is in the ocean, so that goes away, nobody sees it, right? And then at the end, I believe, and I keep on doing this, and teachers also believe, that they get first inspired by the story, and they go and they understand that it's not all easy, they have to overcome their obstacles and challenges, and they will protect a little bit more the ocean, especially because they are the ones who's gonna suffer more if the plastics thing continues.
Yeah, it's important to first love, because then they have the sensibility.
Exactly. So I show them the ocean. I tell them how, for example, I use a lot the Azores, how blue the water is there, all the fish and all the mantas and all the sharks and all the whales that show up when I'm doing my travels, and the flying fish. So they get that story, the magic behind the ocean that they don't see anymore. And yeah, you can see their eyes shining, and then you say, yeah, you see what's happening? And so that's what I try. It's make them fall in love, of course, for the ocean again. And also say to them, yeah, go work in the ocean if you have the chance, so that they feel in love and they protect it more.
Yeah, and do you have some? What's your feeling on this? Like, have you witnessed something that caught your eye in those remote places that you travel in regarding with like plastic pollution or?
Obviously, going a lot to Bali, people have no sense of preservation of the environment. You understand, and there's a big expat community, people from Australia that are trying to educate the community on preserving their coastline and the negative impact of single-use plastics in the ocean. But we're part of the European community here in Portugal, and I don't see people in Portugal being very worried. We're educated people, but people are not worried over here about not worried enough about not using single-use plastics and compared to other places in the world, you understand? And I think it's great what Lufinha is doing is educating the younger kids straight from the roots, because it's one thing when you're 29 and you already have your habits. It's another thing if you're teaching them very young, the damage of plastic, and it's just small changes that can make the difference, you understand? You see people throwing plastic down to on the streets or whatever it is, and it's just so unnecessary. It's a routine that, or separating plastic, or not going to a shopping mall and bringing your own bag instead of bringing a plastic, or having a refill water bottle. It's just small details that make all the difference. You understand? And if everyone does an input, it makes all the difference. And I see that outside of Portugal, people are making an effort. Maybe in Portugal, people are too pressured. They have other worries in their head, financial situations.
They are being worried as well already, but in collecting garbage, the beach cleanups,
Yeah,
you've
exactly.
seen a lot, right?
Yeah,
The problem is
exactly.
that's a solution,
The
that's
trust
a remedy, not a
Exactly.
solution.
So I think it's great what you're doing, and we using the ocean so much and having a name. You're doing it already, but I should do it way more to,
You could try, I don't know if you can find that, but that's an idea. You could find a plastic wave to surf.
plastic wave.
Like next to a harbor, completely polluted,
Yeah.
maybe in Bali,
I got
Kuta,
yeah.
or something, and surf that wave full of trash.
I
Could
actually
work.
got a request. This was 2 years ago when the plastic problem was getting more popular. I got requested by National Geographic photographer to do a cover of the magazine of surfing in the plastic tube.
Exactly, yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I
yeah.
was saying.
And that actually, it came to life just recently. It never ended up. You go to Indonesia and you find a lot of places like that where you can see small fractions of plastic. And
Because when people see it, then they realize.
But
You need the image.
But you know what's crazy? Being more into this, plastic and ecosystem problem. We did a beach cleanup in Carcavelos 1 or 2 months ago, and the beach was clean. Everyone's like, "Oh, the beach is clean. The beach is clean. The beach is
problem
clean."
is solved.
The problem is solved. Exactly. Why people were walking around, and then there was no. It seemed like there was no plastic. But then when you get closer and you see these little particles like this small, and those ones are the dangerous ones.
Yeah,
Those ones are
all
the ones that
animals
all the animals eat, and
That you end up eating as
and
well.
if you look at that problem, you're like, holy shit, we're into something really.
But don't you
Yeah.
feel that awareness is already kind of settled up on communication, on media overall? Do you think that it's time to go to the next step, like daily actions, like you were saying?
No, of course, daily actions, but more images and more videos of cool things like surfing or like sports, with that problem behind, implicit, and people then realize it. Because if not, it's just talk. Everybody can say that, and many people don't believe it.
Can you say some daily actions, just like to finish, that some of us and some of them can do, like easy solutions?
Minimize all the plastic you buy, of course. So using the same bag, that's piece of cake. So no excuse for that one. To the shopping, right? The bottle, the aluminium can, that's easy as well. Costs €2 in a sports shop, at least in Portugal.
But where do you? Okay, I got an aluminum bottle. Where do you refill it?
At home or at school
Okay,
or
but-
at work.
Yeah. Okay. Well, water from the
Yeah,
from
the tap. Yeah,
the
that's
tap
what
water.
I drink.
Yeah, there's a lot of plastic in there too. A lot of-
Yeah.
Yeah, it works
But
in
for
some
example,
cases.
there was something that a Hawaiian surfer did in Maui 2 years ago, something like that. What he said, he was gonna surf the size of the wave he would surf. He would get the same amount investment to invest into the local schools to build water fountains. You understand? So he surfed a 60-foot wave that year. He got $60,000 that he invested into the local school to put in
That's a cool idea.
like water fountains, and gave a aluminium bottle to all the kids, and got all the surfers together, like Kaileni, Albilair, all those guys, and everyone was there signing, and the kids were super stoked, and it's
that's cool.
Yeah, I was in Maldives just some months ago this year, and I was really shocked because the board of a friend got lost, and in jailbreaks, and it's not supposed to. You can get out of that place, but it's not supposed to go around.
Yeah.
And I got out in like a swamp where they burn it's like it's Maldives, it's the paradise, and they burn
Yeah.
plastic just right there. It was like a big shock. And then you would see in the harbor like tons and tons of new plastic bottles, and I was drinking them every day, but there was no other option, and I kind of felt hopeless. Like, what can one do here? There's no chance. And then one guy said to me, like, the importance of awareness, that people know that there's, at least they, deep or not, they know that there's a plastic problem in the world. They don't know the amount of plastic, and there's a famous girl surfer that did some footage on one of those plastic islands in the middle of the ocean. But the guy said, if you go to a store there in Maldives for diving center, and you say, oh, you can say that you are refilling in this water tank, and attract more clients for that, and maybe the competition will see that you are attracting more clients, and they will do the same. So kind of taking advantage of all this awareness to what drives businesses and what puts food in the table, like as you
Change
said.
fast.
And it was kind of a
Good
hope
Yeah.
approach that I found. So yeah, so we have to finish this. Thank you, guys.
How long has it been?
I don't know.
We got a bit
Not
lost.
so
eh?
long. It's okay. Thank you very much for being here. I think
Thank
it
you,
was
guys. Thank
you.
very inspirational. We will, all the members will have the opportunity to review all the full webinar and parts of it, and more content that we'll add on the platform. Those that are not members, please join us and help us grow this movement. We'll be sharing some of the content as well on our social media. Thank you guys for being there as well. And again, thank you. I think
Ciao.
that's cool.
Bye bye.
If it's my last day on earth, I wanna spend it with you.
have a secret. And I'm almost ready to reveal it to you. But you're gonna have to wait till the end to find out. Just bear with me. Some people think I'm crazy, but I'm only a kind of explorer of modern times, connecting Portugal by sea, while coming across islands out of this world. I mean pure, wild, and ready to be discovered. Where I am welcomed by locals, just like family, you know? With a huge open smile and full of stories to tell, making me feel right at home. These islands challenge myself and inspire me to draw and reach new goals. Now this is where my secret will start to become yours. You won't believe the adventures I had in this place. A place where natural landscape just takes your breath away. A place where the strength to overcome fears comes naturally, with pure adrenaline and inspiration running wild and free. A place where you can jump, surf, swim, dive, feel the wind, the speed. I mean, this is a huge piece of nature in its purest state. Place where you can definitely fly. This place is called Açores. There you go. Now it's all yours. Open your human eyes and explore away.
Tá feito?